What is going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you on a Wednesday, and oh, does it feel so nice outside behind our cold front. This was just a little baby cold front. Nothing too crazy, nothing certainly we can't handle, not rivaling some of the bigger brothers, if you will, of the last couple, but just enough to get us back out of the 80s and back into the 70s for this afternoon, and we will have a couple of extra days like this before we get back to the 80s, before we drop into the 50s. Thank you so much for being here. If you're tuning in on News 6 Plus, welcome. If you got the push alert on your phone, you can comment by tapping on that push alert, joining the live stream there, and there's a little comment box underneath. We can interact with those comments and see what you guys want to talk about, all of that stuff. And then also, of course, if you're watching on the News 6 YouTube page, the comment section's right there. We can pull those comments over and we can chat about anything you want to talk about. And we're going to get started tonight with a pretty decent cold front working its way down the pipeline for the back half of the weekend. That's going to be the thing that we're going to be tracking for the most part. Obviously, it's the weekend. We have some big plans, of course, if you're outside, maybe doing something. Nonetheless, we got you covered. We're going to fine tune the timing of this cold front that's going to work its way in Saturday into Sunday. I think for the most part, though, the best opportunity for some rain is going to come in on Sunday. Again, that bigger system tries to skirt on through the northern side of Florida. Then we're going to talk about the bitter cold up north. This time around, it is going to stay up north. So oftentimes you see in the winter that Florida really doesn't participate in the cold. So far, we have. This big blast of cold that's going to likely break some records in the northern plains, upper Midwest, and Great Lakes. It is going to be staying up there. I'll show you why in just 1 second, but we're going to get into that on the other side of this break. By the way, we're taking a live look tonight in Maitland, and if you can see at the bottom of your screen there, Denver, Colorado, they got walloped with some snow, really the first time in a long time. This is just west of Denver in the mountains. If you can look closely there in some of the lights, the mountains in the background, a really beautiful shot. It looked a little bit better when there was some daylight, but I chose this camera because at least there's some light around in the trees where you can see some of the fresh powder that has fallen out in the Rockies, where if you are a skier and you like that stuff, it is really, really cool. All right, so we're going to get into the cold front now. We are tracking this bad boy. High pressure, that big blue H, situated right over the southeast corner of the United States. That's going to continue to keep us mainly clear for the next couple of days. It's going to be on the quieter side as well. Do watch out for a little bit of fog to develop tomorrow morning. Clear skies, calm winds, perfect ingredients for that to happen. Back off to the north and west, you see that other cold front. That's the one that kind of doesn't make it here. Behind that, that's where we get some of the cooler air as we move into the early stages or the latter stages, I should say, of the weekend, early part of next work week. So I want to play this out for you. So this is looking at Saturday. So we're fast forward into the weekend. Always have the weekend on the mind. There is 10 o'clock on your Saturday, a few stray sprinkles in the mix through Central Florida. The bulk of the action toward the Panhandle and into Jacksonville. There is 6 o'clock for you on your Saturday, stray downpour in the mix. And then you see what happens as we move into Sunday. Not going to be a washout, I don't think. However, the opportunity for some scattered showers and thunderstorms will be there as that front crosses through. Certainly, we could use the rain. Hope it doesn't rain on any plans, but that's what looks like is going to cross as we move through the day on Sunday. And then some of the, relatively speaking, colder air slides down. It's going to be colder than the round of seasonable air, I guess, that we are dealing with right now. But once we get into Tuesday morning, I think the 40s come back on a widespread scale. So we'll be a little chilly, not rivaling though, not rivaling the blasts of cold of Halloween or early November for that matter. Check this stat out. This is going to be as of tomorrow morning, because we're not going to get rain tomorrow either. So, and we'll take a look at the drought monitor update. Tomorrow's Thursday, right? We're going to take a look at that tomorrow. But Orlando's now not seen measurable rain for 2 days. I know that's kind of a puny stat on that part. It would have been a lot longer, but we did pick up 0.02 of an inch of rain as we got a few downpours through Central Florida. What was it, on Monday now? Daytona Beach, though, a lot of Volusia County. Now we're on our 23rd day without seeing measurable rain. Leesburg, we're going on 25. Melbourne, Sanford, it's been 7 days since measurable rain. Of course, it is the dry season. This stretches like this are to be expected. But as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, and this is something that we're going to be highlighting again every Thursday. I know today's Wednesday, but just wanted to show you that as we go forward, that we could use some rain. Now we're just 3 days into the month of December, and of course we're below normal by about a quarter of an inch, give or take. The only spot to receive any kind of rain so far this month, and again, it's only 3 days. We'll keep tabs on this. Is Orlando picking up 200ths of an inch? And again, that was as that cold front came through on Monday to give us just a few stray showers or two. What was it yesterday? Yesterday, I guess. I have all my days screwed up. It's getting to be that time with the holidays around that I'm not sure what day it is, and everything kind of runs together. I know that's typically between Christmas and New Year's at the end of December, but it's started for me already. So we could use some rain. The Panhandle got the best dose of rain. They picked up anywhere from a half inch to nearly an inch of rain. That's where they already have the exceptional drought. Now that's going to be an issue because again, obviously it's a dry season. We talked about this time and time again that we do not want to see any kind of drought status at all, but certainly not this early in the dry season as we really ramp things up in terms of dryness and wildfire threats as we get into the back half of winter and early spring. So the west side of Florida, I-75 Gulf side, is already in a moderate drought. That exceptional drought is around Tallahassee. And then there's the extreme drought that's level 4 to 5, just to the west of Jacksonville, toward Port St. Joe, just to the east of Pensacola. So, going to be watching that development. We're going to see if the drought monitor changes any with the update coming tomorrow from NOAA and the United States Department of Agriculture. But regardless, I don't think that rain, it was certainly beneficial. I don't think that it is going to do a ton to really help things out a little bit up there. High temperatures tomorrow in Florida should be a very nice day. It is going to be pretty cool, though, especially in North Florida, where that other front is going to be able to push through and some rain chances arrive across the northern tier of Florida. Pensacola is checking in only in the mid-50s. I mean, that's a 20-degree difference, say, if you were driving from Orlando. 25-degree difference if you're taking a trip up to Tallahassee from Tampa. So it is going to be significantly cooler up in that direction. 65, 67 in Jacksonville, 77 in Vero Beach. Naples, we're talking 80 degrees, and then 82 degrees in Miami. Orange represents above normal temperatures. The gray represents right around average, and then the blue is where air temperatures are below normal. So that is kind of the gigantic divide between the Florida Panhandle and Miami. We're talking almost a 30-degree difference if you were hanging out in South Florida and then had to take a trip up into Pensacola. Alrighty, guys, when we come back on the other side of this break, we're going to hit some of the big weather headlines across the country. And I mentioned earlier that it is going to be tied to this short-fused Arctic blast, likely going to break records across the northern tier of the country, still bringing some snow to the Great Lakes region if you're heading in that direction, or if you're just interested in what is happening in that direction, you're going to want to see this. It is some big-time cold. We'll take a look at what the current temperatures are in, say, Minnesota or the Dakotas. That's coming up in just 3 minutes. By the way, we're taking a live look tonight. Maitland, Florida, of course. And then in Denver, Colorado, where they have some fresh powder. So if you're a skier, that is the place to be. They got slammed with a ton of snow in the higher elevation southwest of Denver, picking up feet of snow through the next couple of days because of a big-time weather system out in that direction. I'll see you guys in just 3 minutes. See you soon. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to News 6 Weather Live. We are just about to get into some of the bigger headlines that are taking the country by storm when it comes to the weather. And it's all about the cold weather up north. This blast of Arctic air should stay that way, should stay up north. Look at the temperatures right now. This is a combination of a pure Arctic air mass sliding into the lower 48 and also the fresh snowpack. If you've been unaware, there's a lot of snow that has fallen up in those parts. Let me pull in, I believe I have a snowfall map. Let me just give me 2 seconds. I'm going to pull that in to show you because the best opportunity, the most efficient way to cool our atmosphere is to have clear skies, calm winds, and then basically a refrigerator, which is the snow that's on the surface on the ground, about 5 or 6 inches. That's about good enough to really help to radiate those temperatures back into space. So these guys are going to break some records. It's obviously always cold up in the Dakotas, into Minnesota. The Great Lakes, upper Midwest. However, it's a little early for this. Typically, you don't see the below normal temperatures or record breaking temperatures until you get deeper into December. January being climatologically speaking the coldest month, I believe, up there. I used to live in southern Minnesota for quite some time. And it's the third week of January, which is climatologically speaking the coldest stretch of the year in that part of the world, in that part of the country. So it's a little early for this stuff, but really cold in Minot, 6 degrees below zero. That is without the wind. The wind chills are double digits below zero. And again, by tomorrow morning, this part of the country, upper Midwest, northern plains, Great Lakes, gonna wake up to the potential in a way to break records as they are talking about being 25 to 35 degrees below normal, say from Omaha back almost to the Twin Cities into eastern South Dakota, and then closer on the east side, on the west side of Chicago. So it is some crazy cold up in that direction. And again, tomorrow morning, and this is going to be the crazy thing. So this is kind of a great like weather 101 when you're putting a forecast together. So what I'm showing you right here is this is the model forecast, okay? And it has 6 degrees below zero in Minneapolis. It is 4 degrees below zero in Bismarck. Well, it's already colder than that in Bismarck. And what the models sometimes don't do well, and that's why the human forecaster is still needed, it doesn't realize that how much snow is on the ground. So a lot of times when these forecasts are put together, climatology is involved. So as the forecaster, okay, you look at the ingredients, big high pressure cell that's kind of anomalous for this time of the year. A lot of snow on the ground that's kind of different for this time of the year, or at least a little more anomalous this time of the year. You go below what the model says. So I would have forecast like double digits below zero up in that direction. Big Arctic air mass. Talked about that. It is working its way up there. But the one thing that I want to focus on, I mean, it's going to be cooler for us tomorrow, but it is seasonably cool. It's this big chunk of high pressure, and it'll break down somewhat early next work week, and we will turn a little bit cooler. But as it kind of stays dominant in the southeast corner of the United States and the western and southwest Atlantic, it's going to help to keep all that stuff bottled up there. So whereas the last couple of cold fronts kind of slid right on through, not really going to happen this time. It will break down a little bit and we will get a taste of that early next work week. But we're not talking the frigid stuff that we had prior to Thanksgiving, the early stages of November, and of course around Halloween. And this is one of the reasons why. This is one of the things that we saw. If you saw our winter outlook that I put out, well, I mean, geez, 5 weeks ago now, at time's going so fast. La Nina, it was likely going to be the dominating force here. It's a weak La Nina, so it can be bullied by some other climate patterns. But that looks a heck of a lot like the map does right now with the warmth in the southeast and then the brutally cold stuff in the Great Lakes in the upper Midwest. And that is because we have that big chunk of high pressure kind of guarding the southeast corner of the United States that keeps the jet stream, the active storm track, kind of west to east. It keeps the cold bottled across the northern tier of the country, never really allows it to slide down, and then kind of pushes off the coast. I mentioned, though, in that winter outlook that if we were going to get some cold, it would be on the early side of things. So I still foresee a couple of blasts of cold through about Christmas. And then I think once we get beyond the middle of January, we might have a runaway blowtorch of warmth building and um and dry weather as we get out of winter and get into spring prior to the wet season starting. And that, of course, doesn't come around until sometimes late May at the earliest, more like June when the sea breeze starts. But that's a story for another time, is we are way, way out of that, and we are not talking about the sea breeze anytime soon. This is the same kind of graphic here. This is just taking the temperature and putting the precipitation in it. And you see across the southern and southeast tier of the country, it is typically dry in a La Nina winter, where the active storm track is across the northern tier of the country. That's all that's about. They typically have their active winter up in that part. We have a dry and warm weather, a warm winter. The main word here is typical. It's typically like that. Certainly, it doesn't always play out like that. There are other forces than just La Nina, but it really looks like, from all of the long range climate stuff that I looked at when I was putting together that long range forecast, it seemed to go hand in hand with your typical La Nina winter for Florida, with the exception of a little bit of a wild ride, for December. Golfing Ferdy says he bought a new heater for warm weather, question mark. A bunch of question marks. Well, then you're the reason why it's not going to get cold, because isn't that what they always say? If you buy a snow shovel or snow blower, then you never use it, if you're up north anyway. And if you buy a heater, if you use an umbrella, if you bring the umbrella to work, it's not going to rain. Same kind of deal. I do think you're going to have a shot to use it probably early next week. It'll get into the 40s again. And I think there will be a couple of more shots, or at least opportunities for some cold back again in Florida prior to the middle of January. And then I think two thumbs way down if you don't like the warmth. Alrighty, guys, I have to get my second break of the night in. We're just rambling on here, talking about La Nina and the cold that I am jealous of up in the upper Midwest. It is big time cold, though. That's no joke cold. Alrighty, guys, I will catch you in just about 3 minutes. Alrighty, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up on a Wednesday evening. Thanks a ton for being here and hanging out as we track the weather together here. Nice and quiet again tonight. I'm just pulling my comments thing back up so I can see if anybody wrote anything else. I still have to hit them up. I still need to get the firewood. I'm still putting it off. Yeah, I need to do that. We were gonna build one in the fireplace on Black Friday when it got chilly, and then we ran out of time, and then so I never did that. So I have some extra firewood, so I'm hoping to use it. I don't know, it'd probably be too warm on Sunday. Um, be a little rainy. It'll get a little chilly on Monday. It's not really gonna time up with the weekend. Then I gotta get back to work. I know. I'm itching because I just don't think that we're gonna have a ton of times to use it. I mean, when do we ever really have a ton of times to use fireplace or fire pit? I do think it'll get a little chilly though on the back end of this cold front coming early next week, which we are going to talk about much more coming up in just a couple of minutes. We will take a look at the timing of that system. If you missed the top of New 6 Weather Live at 9:30, we're going to break that down coming up in New 6 at 10. And then of course, on the TV side of things at New 6 at 11. Tomorrow, full moon. It's a super moon. We're going to talk about that tomorrow on the show a lot. Take some pictures, click orlando.com/pins or on the free News 6 weather app. I will see you guys in a few minutes, and I will see you back here right in the seat in the Digital Weather Center coming up at 9:30. Thanks a ton for being here, guys. Catch you tomorrow.